When you first start soloing on guitar, you're probably soloing over the blues. But in the beginning, when you're using the minor pentatonic scale, it probably doesn't sound all that bluesy. And we want to take something like this and turn it more into something like this. Let's fix that with 3 quick tips to help you sound more bluesy instantly. And at the end, I'm going to give you 1 quick tip you can use to learn a ton of blues vocabulary really quickly. Let's dive into it. I'm Jake, and over the last 16 years, I've taught thousands of adults to play guitar, and I want to see you experience all the joy playing guitar has to offer. Tip 1 is using partial bends. Most of the time when we bend a note, we think we have to bend and get it in tune all the way to the next note, like when we do this kind of bend. But when we're playing the blues, doing a partial bend, sometimes called a quarter bend or a micro bend, can really help us just get into the groove of the song and really just smear the note a little bit to give it that characteristic sound a blues vocal would have. So I'm in the A minor pentatonic box shape that we have right around the 5th fret that most of us learn 1st or 2nd as one of our scales. And on this 5th fret of the 3rd string, which is the note C, I'm gonna just bend it a little bit. I'm not trying to get all the way up to that next fret, that C sharp. What makes blues sound bluesy is that C is rubbing against the C sharp that's in the chord that the rhythm guitar player, piano player, whoever else is playing. And that sound, that tension is the blue note, the blues note. And so when I smear it just a little bit, it brings out that sound. Another really good note to bend in that partial way is the 7th note of the scale, or in our case, it's going to be a G, the note right below the A. I'm not going all the way up to that A. I'm just bending it up a little bit. Again, the tension between those 2 notes rubbing together is what's going to give us that characteristic bluesy sound. The best notes to do this quarter, partial, micro bend on are usually the notes in our scale right above and right below our root note. So if we're in the key of A, our root note is A, so right above and right below are the best notes to do that partial bend on. Tip number 2 is using the 3rd when we're on our 4 and our 5 chord. Okay, what the heck do I mean? So when we play the blues, it's a 12 measure progression. So we play the same chord, which is our 1 chord, our root note major chord. In our case, we're going to be in A. So we have A, 4 bars of A. Then in bar 5 and 6, we're going to play a D chord. So we play 4 bars of A, 2 bars of D, back to 2 bars of A. Then as we move into the turnaround section, the last 4 bars, we play an E chord or the 5 chord, D chord or the 4 chord, an A chord, and then we go back to the E. So when we play those 4 and 5 chords, landing on the 3rd of those chords is going to really draw out the sound. Now, if you have no idea what I mean when I say the 3rd, let's just look at where we would find it. If we look at the note right below our tonic, which we already know is a G, the 3rd of our D chord is an F sharp. It's the note right below that, giving us 3 notes on the B string that we're in our new kind of composite scale that we're building. And we can land on that note to really pull out the sound of the D chord when we get there. Now, for the 3rd of the E chord, when we get to those last 4 bars of the progression, we can find that note, the 3rd of the E chord, 1 fret below our root note for the whole progression. So 1 fret below the A. It's a G sharp. So when we're landing on the D chord, we can land on that F sharp. And when we're landing on the E, we're going to land on that G sharp. Right? And that's really pulling out the sound of those particular changes. Instead of just a flurry of notes that's happening over the top of the chords as they go by, when we land on the third of the new chord we're playing that's outside the minor pentatonic scale, we're going outside the scale to get that note, we're going to sound like we know what's happening in the progression. We can tell where the band is. We know what they're doing, and we're doing it with them. Now we're soloing over the song. We're not just running scales while somebody's our backing track. Now, before we get on to the third trick, and I think the most important, I would love to invite you to join my free course and community at skool.com/guitar, where I teach you how to learn songs, the fundamentals of playing guitar, and so much more, along with thousands of other guitar players who are getting better along with you. All right, let's talk about tip number 3. We want to make our solos sing. When we play guitar, we don't have to breathe. We can continually run up and down scales and licks and ideas. We don't ever have to stop. But as humans, we're most used to hearing is the voice, the human voice. And we have to breathe to be able to sing. And so what we want to do is we want to give our solos space to breathe. We want to play a lick, take a breath. And when we take a breath, we want to stop playing. And then we want to play another lick and take a breath. So it's play, pause, play, pause. And this creates kind of a question and an answer. Because this is what our ears expect, it's going to make your solos much more impactful. An audience, a listener, somebody enjoying what you're playing is going to have a harder time taking chunks out of a continuous stream of notes. But if it's like a conversation, the question and the answer with breaths in between, they're going to be able to follow along with what you're saying through your playing. I said I was going to give you a last trick to help you learn a lot of vocabulary fast. And before I break it down, we need to talk about what vocabulary is. Vocabulary just means having things to play that are going to fit in the style of music that we're going to play. Maybe learning blues licks or jazz licks or rock licks or rhythm guitar or strumming on acoustic. All that's vocabulary, things that you can pick up the guitar and start to play. Now, why is it hard to develop vocabulary? Well, a lot of our favorite guitar players that we listen to, by the time they're making records, they're extremely advanced. So when we're listening to our favorite solos and we're just starting out on guitar, we don't hear a whole lot of things that we could just grab and instantly play. So how do we develop vocabulary, especially in the beginning and especially quickly? The best way to learn vocabulary fast is to steal from vocalists. Steal from your favorite blues singers and play what they're singing. Now, this works so well because we can only sing so fast. We want our lyrics to be understood. And so they're playing really great melodies, which is what we want to play when we solo. And they're playing it slow enough that we can usually hear it. So if you think about something like the song Sweet Home Chicago, Eric Clapton's solo when he starts playing is pretty quick. And that might be hard to figure out. But the vocal line is much more approachable. Both are examples of vocabulary you can use in a blues context. One is going to be easier and faster to learn. If you want to learn to solo better, and specifically outlining the chords and being in the progression like we talked in tip number 3, I think you're really going to like this next video where I break down how to do it over any progression.